In the last lecture, you learned 3 reasons why you should use Twitter to grow your business, and that's really the number of active monthly users on it, the ability to connect with people you don't know, and also the ability to research news topics and find industry related news. The final test we did there was just to make sure that your topics and conversations are happening on Twitter. Now that we've covered that, let us look at how Twitter works. I'm going to give you an overview of 5 key features, just showing you my profile. This is kind of to show you the platform, to give you a foundation in it, and then later on here in step number 2, we're going to be optimizing your profile, setting up your account. So for now, you can just sit back, relax. I'm going to show you the key features and run through these 5 key features plus this pro tip. So one thing that I want to say from the start is Twitter is not as intuitive as Facebook, meaning that it's a little bit harder to use than Facebook. I think on Facebook you can just like, comment and share. They're the only things you can really do, which is great because it's simple. However, Twitter is a little bit more complicated, but the complexity of the platform is actually a good thing. There's a positive side to this. It keeps many marketers out who don't want to take 10 minutes to figure out the key features. So I'm going to show you 5 key features, explain how they work. This will give you a really great foundation in Twitter and put you miles ahead of competitors. So the first thing to note is that Twitter has a 140 character limit. So you probably heard of this, but when you send out a tweet, you can see that there are 140 characters that you can type in here. I'll just show you how that looks. If you take a piece of text and type it in and it goes over the limit, you'll see that it says -17. You won't actually be able to tweet until you remove it and change it to a size that actually fits into the limit. So now I can tweet. I've still got some characters left to use if I want. You can also add photos, etc. in here, locations, all those features are available as well. But the key thing is that there's a 140 character limit. As far as I know on Facebook, I don't think there is a limit. Generally posts will be a little bit longer than the 140 characters. And let me show you what this actually looks like in my Twitter news feed or my Twitter stream. You can see that it's only really enough space for 1 or 2 sentences, maybe 2 complete sentences. You can see that a lot of the posts that come through are extremely short. They might include a link to something or an image, but they are very short. Now, the great thing about this limit is that it's good for both audiences and brands, as it forces concise communication. So there's no big long emails, no big long posts. You're really forced to get to the heart of what you're trying to say very, very quickly. And even from a copywriting perspective, it's great practice because you have to take out the unimportant information and just communicate the most important information. So from that perspective alone, Twitter is a great tool to improve your copywriting and writing skills. Now, another thing is that when you write a tweet, the link that you post, let's say I include this link here, will take up some space in the tweet. So what you might want to do is use a URL shortener like Bitly to help tidy up your tweets. So especially if you have a long URL, you can use this tool called Bitly. You just need to take your URL. You can see that shortens it up, makes it look a little bit better as well, maybe. And you can just copy that and you can paste that in there. So that's really how you can do that, and that really shortens up your URLs if you want as well. So the next point, that was the first key feature, I guess, is that there's a 140 character limit. That's what really makes it different to a lot of other social media platforms. Now, the second thing that makes Twitter quite different, it's one of its key features, is its real-time news feed. So what am I talking about here? I'm talking about really when I come into home here, and I can see that these are the tweets that the people I follow are sending out. So I can see all of them here. It's the very same essentially as what comes up in Facebook. And I'm going to keep comparing and contrasting here because I think it helps you understand it better. It does personally for me. When I compare and contrast, that really helps me understand. Now, when we looked at our Facebook marketing, and I'm just going to bring this up to remind us that how it works on Facebook, so then we can compare it and understand how it works on Twitter. So you'll remember on Facebook that when we looked at the news feed here, we looked at the EdgeRank algorithm. And even if I open this up more, we can see that it was based on affinity, weight, and time decay. But the key thing is that if you have interacted with the poster, if you've liked, commented, shared their stuff before, there's a much higher chance that they'll appear in your newsfeed. And if your friends like, comment, share it, and you've interacted with them, then they will appear there. So Facebook filters the content really by showing you the post that it'll think you will interact with most. On Twitter, it's mostly sorted by chronological order. And the reason that they do that is they want to enable real-time conversations on a topic. So let me show you here. Since I went off and showed you that stuff there's been 9 new tweets, but on Facebook, my newsfeed hasn't changed in the same amount of time. So if I click these open, that's 9 new tweets. That's pushing content down my newsfeed a lot quicker than it is on Facebook. And so what that means is that this real-time newsfeed can be a little bit of a challenge if you want to get your content seen, because content is pushed out so much quicker on Twitter in somebody's newsfeed than it is on Facebook. But there are some advantages to this real-time conversation. You can post a lot more. You could post, say, 17 tweets a day. You can tweet the same thing multiple times a day without overloading your followers. So that's a key thing to understand about Twitter, is that the news feed or the stream is really sorted by chronological order. There's not much of a filter there in terms of, how much you are likely to engage with the tweets or how much you've engaged with the tweets in the past. So that's a key difference between Facebook and Twitter. The real filtering process on Twitter is actually time, because the tweets just come in, it pushes all content out, and it's just for the freshest content at the top. Whereas on Twitter, it's more, you can see this still hasn't changed. There's about 50 tweets have come through. That here it's more really on what I'm likely to engage with, what my friends have engaged with. So that is a key thing to understand about Twitter. Now, that real-time newsfeed can be a bit of a challenge, because if content's being pushed out so fast on Twitter, how do you get noticed in somebody's newsfeed? And the key thing is, I guess, that you don't only want to get noticed in the newsfeed, you can get noticed in their notifications tab. And you can do that by really using @mentions, which is the next point we're going to cover. So we've covered the 140 character limit, the real-time newsfeed, and now we're looking at @mentions. As I said, this is a key way to get around that real-time newsfeed and still get noticed on Twitter. An @mention is really a tweet that contains another username anywhere in the body of the tweet. If you include multiple usernames in a tweet, all of those people will see your tweet in their notifications tab. So what we're really doing here, if you @mention somebody, is not only will they see it in the newsfeed here, the stream, which they might miss, they'll actually see it in their notifications tab here as well. So you can see, for example, Jenny Tang sent a tweet and included my username in the body of the tweet. So you can say she shared my article by @Darragh. So this is great because I got a notification about this and then I retweeted it, meaning I shared it with all of my followers, helping her get more exposure, which I was happy to do because this post kind of makes me look good and everybody wants to share what makes them look good. So these @mentions are a key way to really get more visibility on Twitter, and actually I've dedicated a whole lecture to this, a couple of strategies you can use, because it is a great way to get noticed and get around that real-time newsfeed, which can be pretty challenging. It can be very liberating as well, because not every tweet has to be the highest quality. You can tweet a lot about a lot of different things, and share a lot of thoughts. You could never send 17 emails in one day, but you can tweet 17 times, share a lot of different thoughts about a lot of different things very easily. So that was key feature number 3. Let us look at key feature number 4 now, which is @replies. So you can send an @reply to another Twitter user by hitting the reply button on a tweet. You just type your message in and up pops a box and clicks tweet. So sticking with this same example, when Jenny sent this through, I got a notification tab of it. And then what I did is I actually @replied. So I'll show you how to do this. You just click this little arrow here, @reply. And what we can see here is that I just @replied her. I said, thanks for sharing, Jenny. And she @replied me back saying, you're welcome. So what this @reply is it's not as, it doesn't get as much visibility as, say, mention them in the tweet. It still comes up in your notifications tab, but it's not as visible to both of our followers as this would be. So this is a way to maybe have a conversation underneath of a tweet. It doesn't get as much exposure as mentioning the name in the in the tweet itself, but it's another way to really communicate on Twitter. Now, the final way that you can really communicate on Twitter is direct messages. So this is the most private way that you can really send a message on Twitter. If you don't want anybody but the intended recipient to see your tweet, you use a direct message. So I'll show you where this is. You click on the messages tab here. You can see some of the messages that I've received. And to create a message, you just click new message, you type in the user's name, and you can send them a message. And once you submit, it will appear in the recipient's inbox. So this is if you only want the intended recipient to see it, you can use @replies. If you really only want your and the other person's followers to see it, and @mentions is really the most public way. This is the best way to really include people on Twitter. We're going to talk a lot more about that later on. So those are the 5 key features. We're going to talk about hashtags and that stuff later on as well. And the final bonus tip that I'll give you is to download the Twitter mobile app. This will help you respond to tweets within a couple of minutes rather than 2 weeks later. So if someone is @mentioning you, @replying you, or DMing you, if you have the mobile app, you'll get a notification and you can respond to them quickly. Because I think the key thing is that people, influencers, customers, they move on quickly after they send that tweet. So you want to catch them in the moment if you want to have that conversation with them live. And so the mobile app can help you do that rather than just checking into your maybe desktop Twitter at the end of the day, etc., and maybe missing that opportunity to have a conversation. So downloading the Twitter mobile app will just help you keep on top of Twitter a little bit more. You can adjust the notification settings. They sometimes send you notifications like people you should follow, etc. So you can just turn all of those off on your mobile app and maybe just include the ones where you get @mentions and maybe even DMs or @replies, whatever you want. You can set those up for yourself. So those are the 5 key features of Twitter. As I said, it's not as simple as the like, share, comments on Facebook, but now you understand it. We've taken 10 minutes to really do a lot of work that many marketers and businesses will not do. Now that we understand that, in the next lecture, we're looking at what not to do when you want to increase your Twitter followers. And so some of the things that are often done, maybe suggested in articles, but I'm going to give my opinion on this and give you the information then to make your own decision. So I'll see you in the next lecture